the silence began to happen. Silence is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful strategy. It gives us time to think, to act intelligently, and most importantly, to maintain control. When you learn to be silent and act as if you have nothing to lose, you become truly invincible. I invite you to stay with me until the end, where we will explore valuable lessons that can strengthen all your plans at any moment in life. In this text, I will show you how adopting this mindset can transform your life, allowing you to live with more courage and authenticity. Let's explore together how small changes in the way you think can bring great results. We are going through difficult times where anxiety seems to dominate every decision, but you can transform that anguish into resilience and live a more meaningful life. Discover how with the ebook, Enigmas of Stoicism. Click on the first pinned comment to get your copy and begin your life transformation today. Now, let's start by recognizing that power is not in what you fear, but in the actions you take. I used to worry about what others thought, about the possibility of failing, and about the losses I might suffer by taking risks. But at some point, I realized that this fear was preventing me from living fully. Aristotle said, "The man who fears suffering is already suffering because of his fear." And that is exactly what happens when we let fear dictate our decisions. When we adopt the mindset of having nothing to lose, something incredible happens. Suddenly, the barriers that once seemed impassable begin to disappear. It's as if a new strength emerges within us, allowing us to take risks we would otherwise avoid. I'm not talking about acting without thinking, but acting with the conviction that every step we take brings us closer to our true potential. Imagine living each day with the certainty that what matters is not what you might lose, but what you might gain. By eliminating the weight of doubt and hesitation, you allow yourself to explore new, challenging, and often more rewarding paths. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Life is long enough, and it is given in sufficient measure to allow the realization of the greatest things, if the whole of life is well spent." I invite you to reflect. How many opportunities have you missed out of fear of losing something? How many times have you refrained from acting out of fear of what others might think? If you stop to think, the real loss is not in what you might leave behind, but in the experiences and learnings you miss by not allowing yourself to try. Every time you choose to act with courage, even without a guarantee of success, you strengthen your ability to face future challenges. Every obstacle overcome is another step towards self-confidence and resilience. Remember, as Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our interpretation of them." In other words, it is not failure itself that should scare us, but how we perceive it. Adopting this mindset can transform your life in unimaginable ways. When you decide you have nothing to lose, you give yourself the freedom to try, to make mistakes, and most importantly, to learn. With each attempt, you discover that true power lies in action, not in the outcome. And you know what's even more liberating? When you act without the weight of expectations, you begin to connect with your true self. Imagine what you could achieve if you didn't care so much about the result, but about the process. If you let go of the fear of what could go wrong and focused on what could go right. This is the mindset that leads to growth, innovation, and true success. The kind that isn't measured by the accumulation of material goods, but by the satisfaction of having lived a full and authentic life. I encourage you to act as if you have nothing to lose. When you act with this mindset, you free yourself from the chains that bind you to fear and doubt. You give yourself permission to be who you truly are and to live according to your deepest values and desires. And remember, every brave action you take not only brings you closer to your goals, but also inspires those around you to do the same. So why not start now? What would you like to achieve if you knew you had nothing to lose? Leave a comment below, because I always respond to everyone. When we focus on what we truly value, we begin to make decisions that are in total alignment with who we are. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if every choice you made were guided by your deepest values, and not by the fear of losing or the need to please others. When we act in accordance with our values, we are truly connecting with our true purpose. Every decision becomes an authentic reflection of who we are, not just a reaction to the circumstances around us. Think of all the times you've made a decision just to please someone or to avoid criticism. These choices often take us away from what we truly want, creating a cycle of frustration and dissatisfaction. As the philosopher Seneca said, "No wind is favorable for the one who does not know where he is going." When you lack clarity about your values, it's easy to be swept away by others' expectations, losing sight of what truly matters to you. But when our actions are guided by our values, something powerful happens. We find an inner source of strength that allows us to face any challenge. Doubts and uncertainties may still arise, but they no longer have the same power to paralyze us. It's as if every decision we make is a reaffirmation of who we are and what we believe in. And in this process, we begin to live more fully and satisfyingly. I remember a time in my life when I had to choose between following what I truly believed or yielding to external pressure. It was a difficult decision, but I knew that by choosing the path that reflected my values, I was being true to myself. And this fidelity to who we are is often what gives us the strength to keep going, even when the path is difficult. Making decisions based on our values doesn't mean everything will be easy, but it means we will be living in accordance with what truly matters to us. And that alone brings a sense of peace and satisfaction that cannot be found in choices made just to please others. When you act in line with your values, every decision you make takes on a greater purpose. It's no longer about avoiding discomfort or conflict, but about building a life that reflects who you truly are. And that life, aligned with your values, is where you find true happiness and fulfillment. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. When we make value-guided action a habit, we begin to cultivate excellence in our lives. Every small step we take, every choice we make, brings us closer to our authentic selves and allows us to build a life truly worth living. So the next time you find yourself facing a decision, ask yourself, is this choice aligned with my values? If the answer is yes, move forward with confidence, knowing you are on the right path. If the answer is no, perhaps it's time to reconsider and seek an alternative that resonates more with what you truly value. Remember, living a life guided by values is an act of courage. It's about choosing what is right for you, even when it means going against others' expectations. And this courage, this fidelity to oneself, is what leads to a life of true meaning. I'd like to know, what values guide your actions? How have you managed to live in accordance with them? Share your experience in the comments section to inspire others. However, it is precisely by taking action, by taking bold steps and facing new challenges, that we find our greatest growth. Imagine if everything you have today were enough forever. There would be no need to seek something new, to develop, or to transform. But life doesn't work that way. Heraclitus himself said, "No man steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." This constant change is what compels us to act, to adapt, to grow. With every action we take, we open ourselves to new opportunities for learning and evolution. It is by stepping out of the safety of what we already know that we truly begin to live. Every challenge we face teaches us something new, makes us stronger, more resilient, and prepares us to face even greater challenges in the future. When I think of moments in my life when I truly grew, I realize they were the ones where I allowed myself to act, even in the face of uncertainty. It wasn't the times I stayed still, trying to preserve what I already had, that transformed me, but the times I took risks, even at the risk of losing. And it is this growth that brings a true sense of fulfillment. Acting is an act of courage. It is recognizing that life is impermanent, that nothing we have is guaranteed, and that true value lies in who we become along the way. Sometimes, it's necessary to lose to gain something even greater. As Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few needs." And by acting, by seeking what truly matters, we realize that wealth lies in our growth, not in our possessions. This growth through action also teaches us the importance of letting go. Clinging to what we already have can prevent us from reaching what we truly desire. Often, we need to let go of what's in our hands to grab something bigger. And this act of letting go is, in itself, a powerful form of action. It is the action of trusting the process, of believing that what is to come will be even better. Every time you act, even if the result isn't what you hoped for, you are getting closer to who you truly are. You are allowing yourself to grow, learn, and evolve. And that is the true power of action. It's not just about the final outcome, but about who you become along the way. True wisdom lies in understanding that life is not about accumulating things, but about accumulating experiences, learnings, and personal growth. And the only way to do this is through action. So don't be afraid to take risks, to step out of your comfort zone, to act even when everything seems uncertain. It is in action that we find our true power, and it is through it that we grow. I want to know, when was the last time you acted with courage, even in the face of fear? How did that action help you grow? Share your story in the comments, because it is through these exchanges that we all grow together. In the end, we realize that preserving what we have may seem safe, but it is only in action that we truly find our purpose and growth. Don't let the fear of losing stop you from acting. Remember, life is a journey of constant evolution, and every step we take brings us closer to the person we want to be. So act, grow, and watch how the world transforms around you. Without that paralyzing fear of failing, this is possible when we accept that mistakes are part of the learning and growth process. Life isn't about being perfect, but about learning and evolving with every step we take. As the philosopher Seneca said, "To err is human, but to persist in error is diabolical." In other words, erring is part of our nature, but it is through reflection and corrective action that we truly grow. When we accept our mistakes, we free ourselves from the fear that imprisons us. We begin to see failure not as an end, but as an opportunity to start anew with more wisdom. And this acceptance gives us the freedom to be kinder and more compassionate with ourselves. Instead of harshly criticizing ourselves, we learn to encourage ourselves to keep trying, to keep moving forward. Think about this. I made a mistake, but I learned. What power lies in that phrase? When you adopt this mindset, you realize that the mistake doesn't define who you are. On the contrary, it is your ability to rise after the mistake that truly matters. That is what makes you strong, what makes you resilient. And I want you to do something now. I want you to comment, "I made a mistake, but I learned." Make this your mantra, your constant reminder that you are capable of getting up and moving forward, regardless of the stumbles along the way. This shift in perspective frees us not only from the fear of failing, but also from the self-criticism that so often sabotages us. When we stop judging ourselves so harshly, we open space for growth, for true learning. And it is in this space that we become stronger, more confident, more capable of facing life's challenges. Imagine living without the fear of failure, without the weight of self-criticism. Imagine how much energy, how much creativity would be unleashed if you allowed yourself to make mistakes, learn, and move on. That is true freedom, and that freedom is within your reach. You just need to allow yourself to live that way. So the next time you face a mistake, remember, it's not the end of the world. It's just part of the process, an opportunity to learn something new, to grow a little more. And remember, I made a mistake, but I learned. Comment that. Share your experience, because every time you do, you strengthen this new mindset, not only in yourself, but also in everyone around you. Now that we understand the importance of accepting our mistakes and freeing ourselves from fear, it's time to focus on how this new mindset allows us to live more fully and truthfully. Living authentically means acting with focus on the present, without regrets, valuing every moment, every small victory along the way. When we are trapped in self-criticism or the fear of failure, we often become paralyzed, unable to take advantage of what the present offers us. We worry so much about what we might lose, or what others might think, that we forget to live in the now, to celebrate the small victories that happen every day. The philosopher Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This phrase invites us to be present, to value the present moment, and to act in accordance with our values and our inner truth. When we live authentically, we allow ourselves to act according to what truly matters to us, not according to what others expect. Living in the present also means leaving regrets behind. The past is gone and cannot be changed, but the present is here, waiting to be lived. Every decision, every action we take now can be an opportunity to live according to our truth, in a way aligned with our values. Imagine if, instead of worrying about what could have been or what others think, you decided to live in the now fully. How would your life be? How would your choices be? When we are fully present, we have the ability to see the value in the small things. That smile, that conversation, that task completed successfully. These small victories are the building blocks of a full and meaningful life. It is they, added together, that create the feeling that we are on the right path, that we are living according to what we believe. Living authentically is, therefore, a daily decision. It is choosing in every moment to act according to who we are, valuing every small victory. And this is how, at the end of the day, we can look back without regrets, knowing that we did our best, that we lived according to our essence. And that is the true power of living in the present. Knowing that, regardless of what happens, you are living your truth, making the most of every moment, and building a life that truly matters to you. As you reflect on this, remember that this is an ongoing journey. It's not about reaching perfection, but about making daily progress. And as we mentioned earlier, every mistake is a learning opportunity. Every action in the present is an opportunity to live authentically. So, along this path, keep in mind everything we've discussed: growth through action, freedom from fear and self-criticism, and now, the importance of living authentically. And at the end, don't forget the mantra we've been practicing together. At the right time, we'll put it into practice, because these words have the power to transform your perspective and, with it, transform your life. But let's save this for a moment and continue building this path together. We are going through difficult times where anxiety seems to dominate every decision, but you can transform that anguish into resilience and live a more meaningful life. Discover how with the ebook, Enigmas of Stoicism. Click on the first pinned comment to get your copy and begin your life transformation today. Now, let's continue. We have anchored ourselves in our truth, especially in a world so full of distractions and external pressures. This is where our next secret comes in, the practice of inner silence. In the midst of daily chaos, finding moments of tranquility may seem like a luxury, but it is actually a necessity. Silence is not just the absence of sound, but a sacred space where we can reconnect with our deepest essence. When we dedicate time to silence, we give ourselves the opportunity to listen to that inner voice that is often drowned out by the noise of the world. That voice is our inner wisdom, the source of clarity and guidance that we all possess, but don't always access. As the philosopher said, silence is a source of great strength. In silence, we can reflect on our actions, our decisions, and most importantly, on who we are and what truly matters to us. It is a space where we can disconnect from external expectations and tune in to our values, to what truly makes us feel alive. Practicing silence doesn't mean isolating ourselves from the world, but finding moments within our routine where we can pause, breathe deeply, and simply be present. This practice has the power to reduce anxiety, that constant worry about what could happen or what has already happened. In silence, the past and the future lose their strength, and the present becomes the center of everything. When we are connected to our inner silence, we gain a new perspective on life. Clarity arises, and decisions that once seemed difficult begin to unfold more naturally. The peace we find in this silent space is not a fragile peace, but an inner strength that sustains us amid challenges. And it is this peace, this clarity, that allows us to live more authentically and presently. Inner silence reminds us that we don't need external validation, because true wisdom is already within us. We just need to access it. As we move forward on this journey of self-discovery and growth, silence becomes a constant.